The morning mist clung low over the River Thames, swirling in ghostly tendrils as the great outline of Hampton Court Palace emerged from the haze. Its towering red brick turrets and latticed windows glistened with dew, a solemn reminder of centuries past. The gravel crunched underfoot, every step closer to the palace feeling like a descent into a different time. Here, beyond the ornate gates and sprawling gardens, stories lingered, of power and betrayal, of forbidden love, and chilling hauntings that refused to fade with the centuries. Standing before the palace's great clock tower, time itself seemed to hesitate, as though paying respect to the weight of history contained within these ancient walls. In the early 16th century, Hampton Court was not the property of a king. It belonged instead to a man whose ambition rivaled that of any monarch, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey. Wolsey, the son of a butcher, had risen to become the Lord Chancellor of England, second only to King Henry VIII himself. He envisioned a residence befitting his power, a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture, with intricate brickwork imported from Holland, grand halls inspired by the courts of Europe, and gardens sprawling in geometric perfection. Workmen labored day and night to bring his vision to life, carving out gilded ceilings and painting tapestries that told tales of piety and prestige. But power, as Wolsey knew too late, was a fragile thing. Despite building Hampton Court as a symbol of his loyalty and magnificence, whispers began to spread. His failure to secure the king's annulment from Queen Catherine of Aragon was his undoing. Sensing the shifting winds, Wolsey hastily gifted the palace to Henry VIII, a last, desperate attempt to retain favor. Wolsey fell from grace, dying in disgrace. Hampton Court, however, had found a new master. King Henry VIII, upon acquiring Hampton Court, saw in it not just a grand residence but a stage for his reign. He expanded it further, adding the Great Hall, the largest in England at the time, with a hammer-beam roof so magnificent that even today, visitors crane their necks in awe. Here, beneath the tapestry-hung walls, Henry entertained ambassadors, plotted wars, and feasted in lavish banquets that lasted for days. It was at Hampton Court where the echoes of lutes and laughter once filled the corridors, where nobles in rich velvets and silks danced under chandeliers dripping with light. Yet behind the grandeur, the seeds of turmoil were sown. It was at Hampton Court that Henry's desperation for a male heir began to twist into obsession. His marriages, 6 in total, were marked by blood and betrayal, 2 of which would leave permanent marks upon the palace itself. The Tudor court at Hampton Court was a world unto itself, a glittering theater of power, pageantry, and deadly politics. The kitchens, an industrial marvel for their time, churned out over 1,000 meals a day, feeding not just the royal family but the hundreds of courtiers, servants, and guests that teemed within the palace. Banquets sprawled across hours, with roasted swans, spiced meats, and endless goblets of wine. Tournaments were held in the courtyards, where knights in shining armor competed for favor and fortune. The gardens bloomed in exquisite patterns, designed not only for beauty, but as a testament to the king's command over nature itself. Yet, for all its majesty, the palace held darker currents. Hampton Court became the setting for some of the most significant dramas of Henry's reign, none more haunting than the fates of 2 of his queens. The first was Jane Seymour, Henry's 3rd wife. It was here, in a chamber lined with tapestries of unicorns and maidens, that Jane gave birth to the long-awaited male heir, Edward VI. Her triumph was short-lived. Within days, Jane would die from complications of childbirth, her spirit said to still wander the palace, a wailing figure in a white robe. And then there was Catherine Howard, Henry's fifth wife, young, vivacious, and disastrously unfaithful. When news of her infidelities reached Henry, she was arrested at Hampton Court. Legend says she broke free from her guards and ran screaming down the gallery, desperate to reach the king and beg for her life. Today, visitors report hearing her ghostly cries echoing through the haunted gallery, an eternal replay of her final, desperate moments. These are but two of the many phantoms said to linger in Hampton Court, a spectral tapestry woven over 500 years of sorrow, ambition, and death. Beyond the royal scandals, Hampton Court bore witness to countless plots and political intrigues. The palace was a hive of whispered alliances, secret betrayals, and quiet assassinations of character. Courtiers who once danced in its halls could, within days, find themselves imprisoned in its dark chambers or worse, carted off to the Tower of London. Here, smiles masked daggers, and loyalty was but a currency traded for survival. In the aftermath of Henry's death, his son Edward VI inherited a kingdom racked with religious upheaval. It was under Edward that the Protestant Reformation took firmer hold, changing the very fabric of England and Hampton Court forever. Under Queen Elizabeth I, Hampton Court entered a new, dazzling era. The young queen, keenly aware of the power of image, used the palace as a backdrop for her royal progresses, elaborate tours meant to display her majesty to the people. It was within these walls that Elizabeth played her game of courtship, entertaining suitors from across Europe while carefully maintaining her independence. Lavish masks, theatrical performances, and intricate dances filled the great hall as ambassadors vied for her attention. Yet Elizabeth, like her father, understood the dark necessities of power. The palace's cheerful festivities belied the ever-present threat of plots and rebellions. Beneath the gilded ceilings, plans were laid, secrets whispered, and fates decided. With the death of Elizabeth, the Tudor dynasty ended, and the Stuart kings inherited Hampton Court. James I and later Charles I walked its echoing halls, hosting masques of even greater splendor. But storm clouds gathered. Charles I's autocratic rule led to civil war. Hampton Court, once a symbol of divine monarchy, became a prison. It was here that Charles fled after escaping captivity at Hampton Court, only to be recaptured, tried, and ultimately executed, the first English king to be beheaded by his own people. The palace, stripped of its royal luster, fell into a period of disrepair, a ghost of its former glory. It was King William III and Queen Mary II who sought to revive Hampton Court in the late 17th century. They commissioned Sir Christopher Wren, the architect behind St. Paul's Cathedral, to transform the old Tudor palace into a modern Baroque marvel. Wren's plans were grand: sweeping courtyards, elegant marble halls, a palace to rival Versailles. Much of Henry VIII's medieval structure was demolished to make way for gleaming new wings of Portland stone. Yet fate intervened. Financial difficulties, political upheavals, and Queen Mary's sudden death curtailed the project. What remains today is a curious blend. Tudor red brick fused awkwardly but beautifully with Wren's classical elegance. The Georgian monarchs preferred Windsor and Buckingham Palace, leaving Hampton Court to languish. It became a residence for grace and favor, a place where widows of war heroes and distinguished pensioners lived quietly among the crumbling grandeur. The once bustling kitchens fell silent. The gardens grew wild. In the evenings, only the sound of the Thames and the whisper of the wind stirred the empty halls. By the 19th century, a new spirit of preservation took hold. Queen Victoria, understanding the historical significance of Hampton Court, opened it to the public. Thousands flocked to wander its haunted corridors, marvel at its tapestries, and stroll through the reconstructed Tudor gardens. Restoration efforts breathed new life into the palace. Archaeologists, historians, and craftsmen worked tirelessly to peel back layers of time, revealing the splendor of the Tudor court once more. During the dark days of World War II, Hampton Court once again played a vital role. Its sprawling grounds housed evacuees fleeing the Blitz, and secret war offices operated behind its ancient walls. German bombs rained down nearby, shaking the old stones but never quite breaking them. In the candlelit evenings, those sheltered within could almost hear the echoes of past monarchs whispering encouragement. Today, Hampton Court Palace stands as a testament to survival, adaptation, and memory. Millions walk its halls each year, tracing the steps of kings and queens, of servants and schemers. The Great Hall, still resplendent with Henry's tapestries, hosts concerts and exhibitions. The kitchens, meticulously restored, once again bustle, this time with curious visitors marveling at Tudor culinary practices. And at twilight, when the last tourists have gone, the palace returns to itself, a brooding, beautiful monument to centuries of dreams, betrayals, triumphs, and tragedies. Beneath the polished stones and pristine gardens of Hampton Court lies a network of hidden spaces, forgotten by most who wander its grand halls today. Ancient cellars snake under the kitchens, rumored to be storage not only for wine and salted meats, but for treasures and secrets of monarchs long dead. In the older Tudor sections, tiny, cramped rooms known as priest holes once sheltered Catholic clergy during times of Protestant persecution. Some claim that scratching sounds can still be heard from the walls near the Chapel Royal, echoes of desperate souls trapped forever between stone and spirit. In the chapel itself, the light dances strangely across the hammer-beam ceiling, where the royal arms of Henry VIII still blaze in gold and crimson. Chaplains once stood here, trembling under the weight of a king's gaze, knowing that a misplaced sermon could cost them their lives. Few visitors notice the hidden doors, built flush into the wooden paneling, secret ways for the royal family to move unseen, for spies to slip through the palace unnoticed, for lovers to meet under the cover of darkness. Step beyond the stone walls, and Hampton Court's gardens stretch out like a dream given form. There is the great fountain garden, laid out in perfect symmetry, its radiating paths designed to awe visitors and remind them of the king's command over nature. But deeper still lies the maze, planted in the late 17th century under the direction of George London and Henry Wise. No ordinary garden maze, it was crafted as both entertainment and subtle instruction for courtiers, a metaphor for life at court, where one wrong turn could leave you hopelessly lost. The hedges rise high, pressing in, muting sounds from the outside world. It's easy, frighteningly easy, to lose your bearings. Some say the maze has its own ghost, a figure in gray who is glimpsed just ahead around corners, always leading, always vanishing before you can reach them. Those who've wandered too long within speak of a strange disorientation, a timelessness that seems to envelop the mind. Hampton Court, it seems, ensures that you are never fully in control, even under open skies. Few realize just how vital the kitchens of Hampton Court were, not just to the palace, but to the kingdom.